Hello. Welcome to Storytelling the Heroine's Journey. I'm Kate Farrell, your host and guide as we explore the hidden terrain of the heroine's unique quest and how it can empower your life. I wished I'd known its stages when I was younger, when I lived it without awareness. But as a lifelong storyteller, I did discover the stages of the heroine's journey in the pre-literate oral traditions, those age-old folk and fairy tales and myths had survived by word of mouth for millennia, mostly from matriarchal cultures. Now, these are similar but very different sources than those in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, as discovered and popularized in his book, Hero with a Thousand Faces. We modern storytellers find versions of the feminine quest in collections gathered from the folk, mostly throughout Europe and the Middle East, transcribed and published centuries ago. So the heroine's journey has always existed, perhaps even predated the patriarchal hero's journey. And now, as women continue to seek equal status in our society, we are urged to rediscover the feminine heroic and what it means in our own lives. In this episode, we will meet the three mothers, archetypes, in two stories, one ancient and one modern. The feminine tales typically begin with mothers, three distinct types. I'm sure you know them. There is the loving, nurturing, caring mother, good mother, who dies. And then there is the evil stepmother, who is cruel and vindictive and vain and seeks to destroy the heroine. And finally, the fairy godmother, or the spiritual mother, or the supernatural crone who aids the heroine in her escape, yet challenges her and empowers her. Since these mothers, characters, exist in folk and fairy tales, they are certainly symbolic, and they stand for certain pressures and issues in a woman's life. As you listen to this Germanic folktale, ancient story, I'm about to tell you, see if you can recognize the three mothers in the story and even in your own life. Determine what are the challenges that the heroine must meet and face, and how does she succeed in her quest? The folktale I'm about to tell you is called Mother Halle. In some traditions, Mother Halle or Frau Halle is thought to be the feminine spirit of the woods, and there are even winter feasts still celebrated in her honor in Germanic cultures. Yet we have been taught to think of folktales like hers as just entertainment for children and not as remnants of matriarchal cultures and its beliefs in the power of women and the feminine. This version of the folktale is based on the 1812 Grimm Brothers collection. household tales. And now, the folk tale. There was once a widow who had two daughters. The first was her stepdaughter, who was sweet and industrious, and the other was her own daughter, who was sour and lazy. Now, the stepdaughter had to do all the work in the house, and each day she had to sit by the well and spin with a hand shuttle until her fingers bled. And she used to remember and pine for her beloved mother before she became ill and died. Now, it happened one day that while she was sitting by the well and spinning, the shuttle became stained with her own blood. And she dipped it into the well to wash off the blood, but she dropped the shuttle and it fell to the bottom. The maid began to weep and ran to her stepmother, and the stepmother showed her no mercy and said, "Well, you are the one who let it fall in, and you must be the one to fetch it out again." And the girl went back to the well weeping, and she had no idea what to do. And in the sorrow of her heart, she jumped into the well to find the shuttle. And she went down and fell down. And when she came back again to herself, she was in a beautiful sunny meadow with flowers blooming all around. And she began to walk across the meadow and on, and she came to a baker's oven, and she smelled the bread, and she heard it call out, "Take us out, take us out. We've been baking too long and we'll burn." And the maid took the bread shovel and took the loaves out of the oven and put them on top to cool. And she went on, and she came to an apple tree full of apples, and she heard it call out, "Shake me, shake me. My apples are all ripe." And the girl went up and shook the tree, and the apples fell down like rain. And she shook it some more till all the apples fell, and she gathered them into a heap and went on. And at last, she came to a stone cottage, and there she saw an old woman peeping out of the window. But her teeth were so large that she was frightened, and she began to run away. But the old woman called out, "Don't be afraid, my child. Come and work for me. And if you do it properly and serve me well, it will be to your benefit. Only you must remember to make my bed well and shake the feather bed so the feathers fly, because then there will be snow on earth. I am Mother Holly." Well, the old woman spoke so kindly that the maid took courage and went into her service and did everything for her mistress. And every day was pleasant, good meals, and never an angry word. But after a time, the maid became homesick for life above ground in the earth and her people. And she said to Mother Holly, "I have a good life here, but I miss my own people and would like to return home." And Mother Holly said, "I am pleased you want to return, and you've worked for me so well, so truly. Come, I will take you up again." And Mother Holly took her by the hand and led her to a large door. And when the door opened and the girl was in the frame of it, gold and coins came down like rain and stuck to her. And that is for you, for your great industry and service to me. And Mother Holly gave her the shuttle, which had fallen into the well. And in a twinkling, the girl was up on ground above and not very far from her grandmother, from her stepmother's house. She went and sighed and told her stepmother all that had happened and showed her her great wealth of coins. Well, the stepmother was anxious for such good luck to befall her lazy daughter. I will end the tale here, and I'm sure you can predict what will happen to the lazy daughter when she throws herself down the well. Reflections. In this story, consider, how did the heroine in this folktale succeed? What qualities did she have to succeed? And are you able to identify the three mother figures in this tale: nurturing, competitive, vindictive, and the wise, fairy, supernatural mother? Can you imagine mother figures like these in your own life? My personal story, Three Mothers, 1959. My true personal story has three mother figures in it. The year I left for college. My story. When I was 17, I left my brand new home in California for a women's college in or near Chicago. The night before, my thoughtless mother had already given my small bedroom away to my younger brother, and I had to sleep on a hard mat on the floor in my parents' room. I took the Silver Zephyr Express by coach from San Francisco to Chicago with a stopover in Kewanee, Illinois, because the train went right through my dad's hometown. My grandmother met me at the station with hugs and kisses. I was transported to her cozy cottage on Main Street. It was a sweet, comfy place with a vegetable and flower garden in the back. She was a charmer and served home-cooked meals and loved me with a deep-hearted devotion, her only granddaughter. Days later, when I left Kewanee, my only stable home in my entire childhood, my grandmother's confidence in me was the wind at my back. On the short ride to Chicago, I thought about the letter that my great aunt, Sister Georgina, had sent me just before high school graduation, urging me to apply to Rosary College, a respected liberal arts college for women run by Dominican nuns. My great aunt was a nun in their mother house based in Wisconsin. Sponsored by her, I applied and I was quickly accepted as a freshman in a stunning turnaround of good fortune. But I was to live off campus as a day student and work for my room and board as a mother's helper, a maid of all work in a wealthy family in Oak Park. Now, one fall Sunday, I planned to visit my great aunt in Milwaukee, where she was a math teacher at a girls' high school downtown. Anxiously, I waited at the Oak Park elevated for a train to take me to Chicago's Union Station downtown. At last, an L arrived just in time for me to sprint down from the platform and run to catch the train to Milwaukee. But when I sprinted down those steep stairs from the platform, I grabbed the railings with my white gloves. And when I got inside the train and found a seat with minutes to spare, I saw the inside of both my white gloves were stained with dark soot, the filth of Chicago. Now, it was 1959, and young ladies were expected to wear white gloves, certainly to church or a convent. Ashamed, I closed and clenched my hands into fists. The nuns at the convent where my great aunt lived welcomed me and showed me into an inner parlor where my great aunt was waiting. They showed her great respect, an elderly nun. She was seated at the head of a dining table there and was wearing the full habit of a Dominican, the black veil, the starched white wimple, and the full-length white robe. I sat to her left to wait for her to speak and ask me questions. And as we were served a light lunch, she asked me about my studies, about the campus, and my work in the family home. And then, with a twinkle in her blue eyes, she asked, "Why are you hiding your white gloves in your lap?" Ashamed, I showed her the dark soot stain in the palm of each glove and told her about my race for the train. "Never be ashamed of something you can't help," she said. "You were running and you needed to hold on. I'm proud that you were running to visit with me." Later, when I stood to leave the parlor, she called out, "Wear your white gloves." And I put them on as a badge of honor because I knew what my great aunt was telling me, that I should wear with grace all the time, all the times when things don't go right, when I make mistakes, because my heart is in it. And I wore those gloves all the way back to Oak Park. And that is a lesson that I continue to learn to this day. Reflections. Were you able to see three mother figures in my story? A nurturing mother, a competitive or thoughtless mother, and a spiritual, wise mother. What were the feminine, heroic qualities in this tale? Reflect on the different stages of your own life. Was there a time when any of these mother figures played a role? What did you experience and learn? Write down the story in as much detail as you can and keep it in a journal of your own heroine's journey. Thank you so much for listening to my first episode. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Your comments are welcome. There will be more episodes of the heroine's journey coming soon.